Welcome to another episode of Corporate CPR, where we breathe life back into your organization, projects, and processes, giving you insights to recovery and avoiding corporate mortality events. Joining us today is Linda Fisk. Linda is a multi-award winning leader, keynote speaker, author, and university professor dedicated to amplifying and extending the success of other high caliber business leaders. She is the founder and CEO of LeadHERship Global, a community of unstoppable women enhancing their leadership blueprint and embracing their power to be the best version of themselves, both in work and in life. Welcome, Linda.
Hi, Jana. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today. What a thrill to be part of this really powerful platform. I feel like you give so much tangible, actionable advice and insight, and I'm really, really pleased to be here with you.
Well, I love having you on here because there's going to be so much great content that you provide through your experiences. And so, do you want to share anything else about your career history or what your focuses are, and let our podcasters know more about what you do?
Sure. So I have had the pleasure, honor, and privilege of working with some of the largest brands in the world as a marketing executive. So early in my career, I rose through the ranks of advertising agencies and marketing departments, serving ultimately as the chief marketing officer for some of the most respected corporations in the world and representing some of the most iconic brands in the world. And through that experience, I got to see nimble, agile entrepreneurs breaking all the rules and creating something that was truly innovative, trailblazers, pioneers, real innovators. And I also got to work with some of the most efficient and effective businesses in the world that were running multinational, multi-million dollar businesses, offering something of real value to their customers and clients. And so I feel like although I have a PhD, I feel like I got a PhD just in experience working with these incredible leaders, working with these remarkable innovators and trailblazers, as well as these really incredible world-class business leaders. I will say that in my career beyond marketing, I've also had the opportunity to build community with organizations like YPO, Vistage, and now LeadHERship Global. And it is a privilege, a real honor to work with some of the most distinguished and some of the most incredibly impressive women around the world who are creating businesses, who are growing businesses, who are scaling businesses, and who have created incredible new areas of innovation within an industry. And now they're preparing to exit their business. So it's just been a real whirlwind, but really exciting.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure that has let you see quite the breadth of experiences and insights, and which is exciting because today we're going to talk about profitability. So obviously during the pandemic, a lot of people, a lot of organizations, maybe were less profitable, whether it was strategic or just loss of business. But we got to leverage government support for certain size businesses. And so there, maybe it wasn't such a burning platform, but now those things are going away and profitability is becoming more important. What are your thoughts about what companies need to be doing now as they're looking to 2022 and their plans around profitability?
Thank you for asking, Jana. The first thing that I think that companies need to do is ensure that they are tracking and measuring profitability down to the client and down to the project. It is really important that business owners and business leaders all over the world get serious about tracking, measuring, and reporting on profitability down to the partner, the client, and the engagement. So in this context, I'm talking about profitability that refers to profit per partner, profit per project, profit per engagement. And as we all know, a firm with a higher profit per partner or profit per project actually generates a higher level of EBITDA. And therefore, if they want to eventually exit their business, they can sell at a much higher valuation. And those larger corporations that are also focused on profitability down to the individual project, the good news is they can scale quicker. They can grow at a much higher rate. So a firm focused on project level profitability can raise prices, they can lower delivery costs, they can eliminate unprofitable projects or lines of business, and they can increase the volume of profitable projects. It's not enough to drive just top line revenue through things like improved staff utilization or billing rates while driving down overhead costs when you're trying to improve a business's overall profitability. A business has got to try to grow profits by focusing on improving the profitability of each and every engagement, every single line of business, every single widget that they sell.
You mentioned pricing as part of that strategy, and pricing can be challenging to know what the market will bear, what you're actually worth, because in some services it's really hard to. There's some intangible worth. Like, a good example is project management, right? In project management services, you aren't going in and delivering, a product that's worth this much. Usually you're saving the company money and avoiding cost overruns, avoiding risks, avoiding failed projects. So that's more intangible in how to price. So regardless, whether we're talking about product, service, like how do companies approach their pricing strategies?
Yeah, it really depends on your industry, your unique competitive set, and the position you have in the marketplace. So, if you are the leader of your particular industry, or if you are a mid tier competitor, or you're a value based competitor, that's really going to change your pricing strategy. But the one opportunity that I think every company, regardless of their market position, regardless of their industry, regardless of their marketplace and their competitive set, the one thing that all companies have the opportunity to do is market listening. So I feel like in this context, listening is really a set of marketing listening techniques that are uniquely deployed to collect data on a client or customer's problems, preferences, desires, needs, wants, and requirements. And if you're really good at listening, it can drive not just repeat loyal customers, but it also can increase referrals. It can increase sort of a robust sales pipeline for you. And I feel like that's really critical. But on top of that, it helps you understand if you are pricing your products and services appropriately based on perceived market value. It allows you to have incredible, actionable insight on whether or not your pricing is appropriate, where you stand in your competitive set, what other opportunities there are to diversify your products and services and better serve your customers. So, business may not be able to always compete on size if they're not number one in the industry. So if in their industry they're not number one and they can't compete on size, they've got to differentiate on things like client experience, treating their clients with a service-based experience mentality. And what those clients are looking for, what those customers are looking for, can only be derived by really smart marketplace listening techniques. And the best client experiences are always developed and delivered through design thinking, which helps you focus on client experience in really tailored, innovative ways. And design thinking, of course, is part of this whole market listening technique that I was talking about.
And so what are the tangible steps to do that marketing listening? Like how does an organization undertake it, or a product manager, maybe it is, or somebody over a line of business that wants to improve their product line? How do they do that?
So there's 1,000 different ways that you can actually create a market listening sort of practice. Many companies, the best of breed, the world class leaders in their industry, oftentimes what they do is a series of ongoing focus groups with their best clients, clients who have left them, clients who no longer use them, or their best customers, customers who use them and perhaps other brands, and then customers who have left the tribe entirely. And so the good news is by having those kinds of focus groups, you can ask the kind of detailed questions that you need to either change your pricing strategy, change your marketing mix, change your messaging, or sometimes make product changes. And to also discover new lines of services that perhaps you may not be thinking about, but that your clients would really appreciate and that they would trust you to deliver to them. So it provides often an opportunity for you to see an entirely new line of services, an entirely new line of products that your clients need. It's an unmet need in the marketplace that you have the opportunity to fill. So there's all kinds of opportunities that are often uncovered through a market listening practice, but focus groups are one way of doing that. Sometimes, again, through design thinking, that listening practice is client by client by client, meaning that there is a group of people that represent that company who literally meet with a single individual client and they dive deeply into understanding where the client is absolutely delighted and where the company fell short, exactly what that client is looking for, how that client perceives the positioning of that company, how they perceive the product offering of that company, as well as the pricing. And again, that one on one kind of deep dive interview style listening technique can be incredibly powerful. But again, using the principles of design thinking and focus groups can be incredibly powerful. And of course, we all know that surveys that are given to the best clients over time can help us identify trends in the marketplace and also help us avoid pitfalls or missteps in our pricing, our product offering, or in the way that we service our clients.
So, should companies, when they're doing these interviews, outsource it to somebody else, or do they do the interviews themselves?
Sometimes I think that depends on the skill sets that are inherent in the company. So, if you have a company with a really strong research arm, with a really strong marketing department, it could be that you have the skill sets in house to do that kind of design thinking, to do that kind of market listening. And it could be that they can develop and design a marketing listening strategy that is incredibly well suited to that company, right? So again, if you have a really strong research department or if you have a really strong marketing department, they may be able to design that with you and for you. But I also really believe in outsourcing that if you do not have the skills and talents, experience, and expertise in house, because this is really delicate. You don't want to lead your client into a default way of thinking. You want to elicit, without leading them, really what their thoughts and feelings and assessments are of you, your product, your pricing, your positioning, your messaging, and your service. And sometimes without leading the client into a particular perspectives, it takes the skill and expertise of an outside service, an outside expert firm to be able to facilitate that kind of interaction to elicit the kind of response that's really telling for the company.
And so that makes me, and maybe this is tied to your design thinking, but you only get obviously as good of data as questions you ask. And so, what kinds of questions or how should people approach, even understanding at a higher level, maybe not specific questions, but just general areas of what they're, should be eliciting from these customers.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what it is that you believe are your defining value proposition tenets. So it really depends on what you believe differentiates your company and your product from all others in the marketplace. So, for instance, if it was service, if you said, we provide unparalleled service, and that is our value proposition, that's our unique differentiator, that's what creates remarkable value in our service versus our competitors. Well, then service in this context includes the style, the manner, and the attitude upon which a business provides their services, right? So it's all about that unique point of differentiation. And having a service mentality provides you with the kind of scalability and consistency in every single customer experience, every single client interaction that results in increased referrals and repeat business. So, for instance, a successful business that ensures a high quality experience for each and every client, regardless of the individual delivery team, is more likely to experience zero defects in the experience, absolute consistency, and a higher level of reported satisfaction from their clients. And developing this kind of strict quality control measures over their service platform helps the business manage the client's experience as well as managing the business of solving clients' problems. So they may want to dive into their listening all around whether or not they solve that client's problems quickly, efficiently, and with the kind of value proposition that the client really appreciates. So if your unique differentiator is all around standardizing the experience and ensuring that that kind of white glove treatment is the same across every single client interaction, then that's really what you want to dive into in your market listening. Is you want to really understand whether that promise that you're making to your clients is being fulfilled, and continue to ask your clients, is that a differentiator that they value in the marketplace? Is it that offering that kind of high quality experience in each and every interaction really is valued by the client base? Or is it something that they don't particularly value? And therefore, the company, has created a unique value proposition that isn't experienced, noted, or valued by their client base.
If a company had taken, intentionally gone in at a certain price point that maybe wasn't profitable to break into a new market, something, survive the pandemic, whatever the case may be, I'm sure changing prices creates resistance. So how do they overcome that market resistance, whether it's from their current customers or their new customers, if they need to change their price?
Yeah. A lot of times, exactly like what you just noted, Jana, is a lot of large corporations, all the way down to small entrepreneurial startups during the pandemic, had to really experiment with pricing strategy, which of course impacted profitability. And profitability sometimes was intentionally sacrificed in order to create a much larger client base, in order to stabilize their clients, and in order to win additional business over time. So it could be that they began really promoting a loss leader, promoting a line of business, or promoting a particular service that was not particularly profitable for the company. And they may have done that very strategically in order to grow their client base, and in order to take the clients that were new to the firm and grow them over time, cross-selling them and upselling them into other lines of business, other products, other services that were more profitable. But I feel like, again, we are turning the corner from the global pandemic over the last 2 years, which I think opens up the review and assessment of pricing strategy and profitability again. And I think that every company around the globe needs to look very strategically at their profitability. And if they decided to lead the market with a loss leader, with products or services that did not have a profitable margin attached to them, now is the time to begin thinking about shifting that marketing messaging, shifting that loss leader. Perhaps you take two different lines of business, two different products and services, you begin bundling them so that you're not necessarily changing pricing, but you're bundling services together so that one service that may have very thin margins, or maybe it's unprofitable, then gets bundled with another line of business or another product or service with high profitability. And so being able to bundle products and services, being able to re-engineer pricing strategy, and being able to rethink profitability, I think right now is absolutely the time to do that before we turn to a new page in 2022.
One of the clients in Australia that we have has had this challenge where they chose to enter the market with very small margins because they wanted to be able to capture. Basically, there's a new a technology that had not been in this market. Like, there were other leaders, right? So if you have to beat a leader, you have to win the deal so that you can gain reputation. And this company does projects, so they're long, right? So we're talking about multi-million-dollar projects over 2 years. Well, now these projects are having challenges, and so it went from narrow margins to now losing money. And future projects are going to be profitable. They've already seen that, but how do they now? What are your thoughts around managing through that, or even avoiding that, making ensuring that you have made the right strategic decisions so you don't basically have a mortality event because you took this strategy and it didn't work?
Yeah, and I think the good news is that you're always open to making a due decision, right? So you can always redecide how you orchestrate your business. That's one of the wonderful things about running a business, is that at any point, if the marketplace is not giving you the kind of positive affirmation that the product and service is valued, priced correctly, staffed correctly, utilized correctly, or you feel like you are not receiving the kind of profitability that you need from that particular line of business, you can always make a different decision. You can always redecide. So in my mind, it's not enough to drive top line revenue through improved utilization or billing rates. If you're in like a professional services company or something, you also have to drive down overhead costs and improve firm's profitability. So you may be looking at things like staffing. Do I have the right staff associated with the right projects? Am I overstaffing my most senior people across the board? And that is diluting my profitability. Am I, again, very strategically made a decision perhaps a year or two ago to offer kind of a loss leader? And now am I experiencing a situation where my overall business's profitability is really down? In all those cases, I think you can focus on improving the profitability of every single product, every single service, every single engagement, every single project, and really take a very strategic look at that, because now is the time. As we move into 2022, this is an entirely new game. And I think that everyone is anxious to ensure that they have the level of profitability that they need, but they also have the allocation of discretionary budget dollars needed to generate repeat purchases from existing clients. And that is as important as winning new business, is ensuring that about 80% of your overall revenue is generated through repeat purchases of existing customers, existing clients. And that takes the allocation of investment. So you've got to be sure that you're balancing winning new clients through this loss leader scenario we've been talking about, with ensuring that you were investing in current clients or current customers as well. And in fact, we know that businesses typically grow faster than their peer group when they focus on repeat business, loyal customers, loyal clients. And when you consider non-billable time as investments to be made into growing the business. So those are the businesses that are most likely to successfully grow, scale, and if they want to, eventually exit their business.
I'm seeing you were talking about the importance of knowing your, price per client, or I mean your profitability per client or your profitability per product, et cetera. In a lot of large organizations that we've serviced, that seems to be a challenge. Just not having the right, I guess, technology infrastructure in place to be able to connect the dots. What have you, any best practices that you've seen, or stories you can share around that?
Well, I will say it's I have done it myself, and it is really detailed work. So one of the reasons why I feel like the adoption of that kind of analytic is slow is partly because looking at profitability correctly is, I mean, it's absolutely a key driver, but it also requires a lot of detailed work. To grow and scale a firm, a business has got to engineer how to deliver products and services efficiently in order to achieve profit, which means that you have got to project projects based on profitability as your number one criteria, and then staff to that or create the delivery mechanisms to achieve that profitability. So, your delivery services, your follow up services, your marketing services, all of that needs to be factored into a level of profitability that you feel good about. And so, it requires you to really clearly understand the cost structure for all those different aspects of the businesses, from staff to marketing to delivery, to every single aspect of ensuring that what was purchased is fully delivered, whatever that looks like in whatever industry you're in. But it also requires that you understand clearly the cost structure in all those steps, which means diving deep into the business, every single aspect of the business, to understand the cost structure and understand where you may have room to move in that cost structure, whether it's staffing it differently, delivering the service differently, whether or not it's pulling back on marketing or operations, to ensure that you can hit those profitability measures. But in order to look at profitability correctly, because we all know that profitability is the key driver to longevity in a business, you've got to understand your cost structure, and you've got to know where you need to pull back on your cost structure in order to deliver products and services to the profitability measures that you need to for your business.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really insightful. So when a company, let's say they're just starting out, right? So what are some of the things they should be doing to really be testing the market and testing their pricing and making sure that they're uh, explaining the value?
Yeah. So I think one of the most important aspects of, again, this market listening technique that we were talking about is actual marketing. So the good news is if you approach marketing as an opportunity for a two-way dialogue, not just delivering messaging to your ideal client and continuing to repeat that message over time, but opening up a dialogue so that your ideal client can also give you feedback about what's landing and what's not landing, what is received well, what is confusing, then that gives you phenomenal insight very quickly about how to generate leads, how to convert those leads into opportunities, and then opportunities into client, while generating additional projects through existing clients, which is just as important as we talked about. Referral business, repeat business is absolutely got to be your mainstay. It has got to be the core of what you do. But by effectively creating marketing outreach that elicits response and that you are carefully reviewing and tracking over time, so you know what is creating response in the marketplace, what's not creating response in the marketplace, that will help you significantly grow and scale your business at a much, much faster rate. And what I know to be true is that to grow and scale a business, you've got to be able to market your services, market your products in an effective manner focused on clear objectives, clear measures of success, and clear milestones. And if you are missing those milestones of success, you're not hitting those measures, then it's time to really dive into that marketing and find out what's not resonating. What is it about your messaging that is not resonating with your ideal client? In my mind, the biggest opportunity is growing the number and the value of projects, products, services with existing clients and through client referrals to new prospective clients, because that is far more valuable than mass market brand focused activities. But at the same time, those mass market brand focused activities can give you incredible insight in really quick order that will allow you to continue to refine your message and receive that kind of feedback that you need from the marketplace to uniquely position yourself.
You mentioned a couple of times now the importance of referrals and how and that companies who focus on referral business actually outperform their peers. So how do companies approach a referral strategy? Sorry. I mean, how do you make a plan around getting referrals?
Yeah. So I think it's important. This is where I think some brainstorming is really helpful and some creative thinking. But I think it's really fun and important to think about your entire ecosystem. So think about not only your ideal client, but who services your ideal client beyond you. So if you had a tailor shop and your ideal client were women that lived in a 200-mile radius, making over $200,000 a year, and were single. I'm making this up. Um, well, then you would think to yourself, well, who else services that same group of people? I'm a tailor. Who else would be interested in reaching that same demographic, but offering a totally different service? Maybe a um, shoe designer, maybe a dog walker, maybe a career consultant, maybe a leadership community group. And so you have to think, who are all the other people that care about that same audience that I do? And if I really want to connect with well to do women who are single, who are always interested in having unique, one of a kind couture outfits made for them, who else would want to reach that exact same group? And then how can I refer to them while they refer to me? So it's not competitive in any way. It's actually an aggregator. And so what I find in that simple example is that every single business has shared audiences that they're trying to connect with. Every single business out there has someone else in their ecosystem that's trying to work with and reach the same audience. So partnering with them and saying, hey, I have a tailor service, but I know you have a shoe design service. Anyone that comes to have a new dress designed with me, I'll refer them to you for a matching pair of shoes. And same, if you have someone who comes in for a unique design of shoes, could you refer them to me to have a dress designed exactly for them? Well, absolutely. That makes all kinds of sense. And then you can incent that relationship by giving them some sort of referral fee, some sort of commission off that referred business. And that not only creates great relationships, it creates great business because both the tailor and the shoemaker have now doubled their business simply by creating referrals to each other. So the very first step is to look at your entire ecosystem and understand who else is trying to reach and connect with and form a relationship with your ideal client.
Hmm. One of the other questions that I had when you were speaking earlier, so we're going to jump back just a little bit. You were talking about the value of marketing. You know, marketing obviously is an overhead expense, and so I think you have to be very strategic about where you put those dollars. Where have you seen the most success in return on your dollar in a marketing world?
Yeah. Again, I think that some of that has to do with um, really what industry a particular company is in, and where they are in the marketplace. So if they are the leader of a particular industry, or if they are a me too, if they're middle of the pack, if they're lower in value play, I think all of that really matters in terms of the marketing that's going to be most effective, and also who you're trying to connect with. But a couple principles that I think are always true is, one, know your ideal audience incredibly well. Know their psychology, their lifestyle, as well as their demographic profile. So you should know who they are demographically, psychographically, in terms of lifestyle. You should know how they think and feel and how they consider their purchase process. What is the decision making process that they go through to make a purchase? And then once you really clearly understand your audience, you'll also know their pain points. What are the biggest problems that they're facing that you can solve? And talking their language about the things that matter to them and the problems that they have that you can solve for is so much more powerful than simply talking about your own value proposition. So it's a lot different if I were to say, listen, you are trying to accelerate your success. You're trying to connect with other like minded leaders. You're trying to find solutions to the problems that you're facing in your business every day. And if you join LeadHERship Global, I have a solution for that. Or I can say, LeadHERship Global is one of the largest and most prestigious communities of thought leaders, innovators, influencers in the world. We have over 10,000 members that meet in 10 roundtables and leadership boards and trust forums every month. Don't you want to be a part of that? The first pitch is all about the issues and the problems and challenges that are facing that person. The second pitch is all about me and all about the value that I offer and all about the services that I provide. And they have to infer how those benefits will impact them. They have to think through, okay, what does that mean for me? If I were to join LeadHERship and be a part of those roundtables and that leadership group and the leadership board and the trust forum and all those things, what does that do for me? In the first case, I tell them very quickly, this is what you're facing. Here's how I can help. And it's up to them to make the decision whether or not that's impactful for them. So I feel like marketing number two principle is know the pain points of your audience, not just know your audience, but know the pain points of your audience. Know the things that are most important to them to either solve or to accelerate or to opportunities to take advantage of, challenges to overcome. Really know that intimately, and then discuss how you can help them. Provided you can, discuss how you can help them through that journey, how you can help them through those decisions, those opportunities, those challenges. And that's number two. Always put yourself in the shoes of your audience, whoever it is you're trying to connect with. And in my mind, again, marketing it should be considered a repeatable process to generate leads, convert those leads into opportunities, then opportunities into clients. And that doesn't mean that everyone that you connect with is going to end up being an ideal client. So you also need to know when to say no, when you need to say to someone, I'm not going to be able to provide you the kind of solution that you're looking for. And you know that that person is just not part of your ideal client base, right? Because again, converting those leads into opportunities and opportunities into clients means that you need to have a group of happy clients. You need to have a group of delighted clients, not clients that are not sure this is a good fit for them. So a strategic marketing approach, I think, helps you grow and scale your business through strategic, effective marketing tools like everything from email to social media to networking through it could be that you're doing public speaking and podcasting, or raising your visibility, but whatever your means are, you've got to be sure that you are speaking to both existing clients as well as new prospective clients. To limit leakage, to waste expense, you need to be sure you know where your existing clients are and where your prospective clients are.
Oh, that's been great, Linda. And this has been a great conversation. Do you want to, in closing, share? Obviously, profitability is probably the number one important thing for a company to be able to avoid a corporate mortality event. But what would be your top three either tips or takeaways around profitability?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is get clear on your cost structure all in for the delivery of your products and services. Be very clear that you know all of your expenses, from how you staff to how you market to how you deliver all of the products and services that are part of your value proposition, part of the promise that you're making to your clients. Second, be sure that you are tracking and measuring every aspect of those cost structures, from point of inception down to the final delivery of a project, a product, a service, an engagement. Make sure that you are clear about all scope creep, all add-ins and add-ons, so that you can make very strategic decisions at the beginning about how something will be delivered, how something will be staffed, how something will be created, in recognition of the profitability metrics that you have got to hit. So if you find that your profitability is being impacted because you have too many senior people on a project, you have too many steps in the delivery of a product or service, you have too many partners that you're reliant on to deliver a product or a service, then what I would say is take the time now to reconstruct, redesign, and rethink the cost structure, the delivery mechanism, and perhaps the pricing of your products and services, because we're getting ready to enter a brand new year. And now is the time to begin January fresh with a new approach that makes profitability your number one criteria in the delivery of products and services.
That's fantastic. So if people wanted to connect with you, Linda, find out about LeadHERship Global, how do they find you?
Easy. I am on all the social media platforms, including LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I am probably most responsive to LinkedIn. So you're welcome to go to LeadHERship Global, LeadHERship Global, and connect with me on LinkedIn there. That would be terrific. Or you're welcome to reach out to me on my website too, which is LeadHERshipGlobal.com. So either of those two platforms, I tend to be really responsive, and I would love to connect with anyone in your audience, Jana, who wants to talk about this further. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest today, Linda. And then thank you everyone for listening. And until next time, keep your organizations healthy.